Today we are going to start our next topic of internet services, that is different kind of protocols. If you remember, in my previous video I have already explained about the protocols. What are protocols? Simply a set of rules which you need to follow whenever you are doing anything, whenever you are sending or receiving any sort of communication over the internet. You have to follow those protocols. So that only we are going to begin. First is FTP protocol, which stands for file transfer protocol. Whenever you are sending any file along with your mail, or even in WhatsApp you are able to send your message, at that time this particular protocol helps to send as well as to receive those files. In my previous video I have already explained how you can attach file with an email ID. Even if you are attaching the file, you know that paperclip icon which you have on WhatsApp, with the help of that you can attach any sort of file, whether it is graphics, videos, or whatsoever it is you want to attach, you can attach. But those files you are able to send with the help of this protocol. In this you have two things, that is FTP client and FTP server. This client server architecture also I have already explained. If you remember, client sends a request to the server to respond on its request. Remember, client server architecture works on request and respond. Client requests to the server to send its communication, send its data over the internet, and server will respond to its request whether it has to be done or not. Why it has not to be done? Because maybe the email ID which you have entered by mistake, while entering the ID you might have made some mistake, so that particular ID does not exist. Maybe the wrong phone number which you are entering, that is also wrong. So if there is any problem, if your message does not go, in that case also server will respond. If it is sent, then you will get the message that message has been sent, or the blue ticks which you get in WhatsApp. So in one or another way you will get the message whether it is done or not. Okay. Now next, if you see, that is uploading or downloading files. That is very simple process. Whenever you are giving something to the internet, giving means like you want to send your data over the internet to someone, you are sending any of the files, that is called uploading. Whereas downloading means when your teachers are sending different videos or the notes or whatsoever it is in your e-learning, at that time that particular file is to be downloaded from the internet. So when you are getting uploaded any files, when you are transferring any files over the internet to be available online, that is called uploading. And when you are getting the data from the internet to be downloaded to remain in your system, in your phone, that is called downloading files. So this is only possible with the help of this FTP protocol, that is file transfer protocol. Now, as when you are entering your data, when you are sending or receiving, how your data securely reaches to the destination, it is responsibility of these many protocols which we are going to discuss now. Earlier, these are very new protocols. Why these new protocols has been developed? Because now today everyone is working over the internet. So security of the data is first and foremost concern of everyone. When even you are sending something very precious which you want does not leak, at that time you have to be very cautious. That particular person to whom you are sending, he or she should only get that data, and that too in the correct form. Okay, so these protocols which we are going to start, that is basically purely for security purpose. These all protocols are related to FTP only, but for security purpose we are going to use this, and everybody is using nowadays these protocols. SSHP, that is Secure Socket Shell. Secure Socket Shell means when you are sending your data, it gets encrypted. Encrypted means it gets decoded into a manner which could not be understood by anyone. If you remember, in my previous video I told you the meaning of encryption. So when it is encrypted, it would not be easily understood by anyone. So computer does not understand the way you are. Even if you are sending simple hello message to your friend, computer is not going to understand it. How computer is going to do? It is going to convert your data in the form of zeros and one. And when you are sending your data, if you remember that it goes into with the help of TCP and IP protocol. TCP, that is transmission control protocol. When you send your data, it gets break into the number of packets, and over the internet those packets get converted or sent into the destination. So TCP breaks the data into the packet. Now meanwhile, when they are in the process of transferring, it could be very easy for anyone to change the message. Just imagine a situation where some country's sensitive material is sending over the internet, some mail which is concerned with the security of the country. At that time it would be very dangerous if someone changed the message, right? That message gets converted into zeros and one, and this SSH protocol, what it is going to do, it is going to encrypt the data so it could not be understood by anyone. Now here TCP is also involved, SSH is also involved, and FTP is also involved, because we are sending the files, right? We are doing some communication. So this protocol, what it will do, it will send your data over the internet, and that to an encrypted form. Another example which I can give you of encryption is, I hope you all have seen Razi movie. In Razi movie, Alia Bhatt, she was playing the character of secret agent from India, right? So whenever she wants to communicate with its people, at that time, what she was doing, she's using that coded language. Even in one of the scene, it was shown that she was learning that coded language so that in that sign language she can communicate. So that is the language which could not be easily understood by common people. So similarly, this SSH, what it is going to do, it is going to convert your data into the encrypted form, and when it reaches to destination, your friend is not able to understand if it is still in encrypted form. So again it will get decrypted so that it should reach to the destination securely, safely. That is only with the help of this SSH protocol. Next is secure copy protocol. So what particularly this protocol does, when you are sending your data, now this is an encrypted form, so it's just keeping, it will transfer your data, that too should be confidential. So what it is going to do, when you are sending, that data should be confidential by any means. It is the secure copy. It is one and only copy, and it is the secured one which will be taken from the source to the destination very securely. So that is the work of SCP. Next is SFTP. SFTP, Secure File Transfer Protocol. This is FTP only, but this FTP without S is not secured. Anyone could hack those packets which is in the process of transferring and can be misused. But this FTP, this is the secure one. Nobody could hack. Even if they will hack, they are not able to decode it, because this would be encrypted by the SSH. Next is SMTP. SMTP is Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. This particular transfer protocol will takes your mail from the source to the destination, that much only. And this is again, this is the secure one, and this is the very old method which we are following till the date email has been invented. From that time we are using this Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, which is going to transfer whole of your mails, whether it is purely text messages or whether it is your like attached files or any files, it could be there. Next is POP3, that is Post Office Protocol version 3. This is the third version of Post Office Protocol. What it does, earlier there were days when internet was like today, it is very cheap, but earlier when it was invented, it was very expensive. At that time we were actually using these protocols, because at that time it was expensive. So what people were doing, for 5 minutes they were just connecting to the internet, and whatever the mails they are receiving, that gets downloaded into their system. The moment it gets downloaded, the way like today we are simply, I think so 24 hours our Wi-Fi's or internets are working, we are not even switching it off. Throughout the day it is running, but that time they just get it downloaded, and with the help of this protocol, this POP3 protocol, all the data remains there, and they just stop their internet working, and as it is downloaded they can simply read those messages. So for one kind of organization where there is lot of work, lot of data to be exchanged on the internet. They are using this protocol to read the emails. Next is Telnet. Telnet stands for Teletype Network. Teletype network means which could be at some computers are at some other place, and you want those people to work on your computer even without coming to your home. The best example which I can give you here is that someone could take control over your machine with your consent, so that without coming to your place they can make any changes if you are facing any problem in your computer. And the way we had lockdown and we are not allowed to move out, and somebody even cannot come to our home, and if your laptop or your computer is not working, you want to mend it. So from their end, with the help of this Telnet technology, they can mend it. So how or what all other softwares are there with the help of which they can get the remote access of your computer. Remote means which is very far. That person may be very far. Your hardware engineer may be residing very far from your home, but from his home, with your concern, he or she can get the control on your computer, and by sitting at their own home, they can see what the problem is, how your computer is facing one or another problem, and how they can mend it. For example of these kind of software, we have AnyDesk software, we have TLM server, with the help of which people, just by sitting at their own office, they will ask for your permission. One code will come to your machine, you have to give that code to those persons, and they will connect to your system, and through Notepad, which is a text editor. You all know that Notepad is a text editor. So in that text editor even you can have chat with them, like what the problem is, how they are going to. You will see that you are not using your keyboard or your mouse, but someone else who is sitting very remote to you, who is very far from your home, your computer, can have full control, full access on your computer with your permission. Next is, now we are going to start with a different kind of web services, other internet services which we can use on internet. That is, first is the chat. Chat you all know and you all love it, right? You all want to do chatting throughout the day. Chatting, what it is an online textual talk. When you are connected with the internet, you are talking to your friends, families, but by typing the text. That's why it is called online textual talk. Now there are different types of chat. Simple chat, what you all know, simply you are sending and receiving the messages. There is IM, that particular chat is called IM, instant messaging, right? Then we have IRC, that is internet relay chat. Internet relay chat means there are some groups. Even right now also you have groups with the people who are of common interest. Similar something is there, that's why you are in the group. The way you all have your groups for online studies. So that is called IRC, where maybe if somebody is very much interested in science, they have made science group. If somebody is interested in the latest technology, according to that, they have made one group, and in that group they are talking, they are chatting about that particular topic only. They could not talk anything else over there. Then we have Facebook chatting, when you are on the social platform where anybody could see your things. The Facebook Messenger is giving you the option, with the help of you can send as well as you can receive messages from someone privately. Then next is video conferencing. You all have seen this. If not, open any of the news channel. One person is sitting in his own channel office, and other people with whom he is talking, maybe on some current issue which is prevailing in the country, and those people sitting at their own places participating in the chat. So that is video conferencing, in which you people can see as well as you can talk with those persons. That is called video conferencing. It could be similar to video chatting, but in video chatting, like when you are doing it with your family and friends, that is just for fun purpose. But when it is at something up level, means where you are discussing about your nation, about your country, or about the prevailing issues, that time it is video conferencing, where people are sitting just maybe in their homes, and they are talking about that particular issue. Now come to advantages and disadvantages of video. First and foremost advantage of video conferencing, that it is very easy to conduct any kind of meetings. You can easily conduct with the help of video conferencing, because as all are sitting at their home, you can just send message before 5 minutes. They don't have to come anywhere. You are saving your time, you are saving your transportation charges, so cost saving as well as time saving, you can say that. Then so it is very economical because you are not traveling anymore, and it could be very easy for the people who are very far away. Like if someone is in Delhi and you want to call that person here in your city, you need to wait for that person to come over the airways or the railways. You have to wait. But when you are having that video conferencing, it could be like before 5 minutes you can just intimate that we are going to have our meeting. Then next is it increases the business productivity. Why increases? Because you are saving your time, you are saving your money. That time and money could be utilized in your making the decisions, good decisions you can make, because you can readily in the meetings you can take the decisions, and those money could be utilized in your business. Now even in e-learning this is very beneficial, because student presence at different locations. Maybe when we are teaching, you might be located at any other location, but you are able to attend these lectures because you are connected to the internet. Now next comes to the disadvantages of the video conferencing. Yes, there are many disadvantages as well. Very reliable and fast connection you need. If you don't have reliable or fast connection, whole time that circle will take to get your video uploaded, which you call buffering. That whole time will go on if you don't have a fast connection. Even slight delay, suppose you have your meeting within 5 minutes and your connection was low and you are not able to get the message on time, your boss will fire you, like why you were late for the meeting. You cannot give this excuse when you are working specifically from home. And another is technical difficulty. Maybe you are not that much good in technical aspects. If your computer is not working, if internet is not working, there are some issues with which you cannot deal with. So at that time you are you cannot say anything and you cannot do anything. So your meeting, maybe like in between meeting is going on and in between some technological failure or hardware failure occurs, you cannot do anything. High quality dedicated video conferencing systems are required. So they are expensive also, those kind of internet and those kind of devices. So you have to purchase this. And there are some zones which have different timings. Like in India, if it is morning time, in Canada it could be night, in America it could be some other time, in London it could be any other time. So you have to see that chances which could occur so that all the people can work at the same time. So there are many issues still we have to occur in video conferencing. Now next topic is e-learning. E-learning, you all know, I hope you, even without explanation, because nowadays everywhere and everyone is using this e-learning concepts. E-learning is basically helps you to be at any location, and without interruption in learning you are able to gain it. 24/7 it is available according to your own time, your own convenience. You are able to learn the things. There are many advantages as well as disadvantages of e-learning. First of all, we will look at the advantages. First one is the cost effective. As it is available nowadays, internet connection is very cheap. So with the little amount to be spent on the internet, you are able to get it. Self-paced. Self-paced means according to your own time. You are not bounded to 7 to 12 or one school. You are not bounded to 2 hours tuition. At your own convenient time. If you want to study in the night, you are a night people. You love to study only in night. Daytime you don't feel like study. So this is the best thing for you to do. Consistent. All the lectures. Even if one student is taught by a very good teacher, now all the students are taught by that same teacher. So it is a consistent delivery. And the number of times you want to repeat, you can repeat it. Just you need to scroll on the timings, you need to scroll on the different videos. Flexible, as I told you, like according to your own time, according to your own level of understanding, you can stop somewhere in between. You are not understanding, you can just reverse the video and can get it again. Interactive, why it is interactive? Because you are going to interact in the video with the help of video conferencing. You can interact, you can ask your doubts, you can work along with your teachers. Effective, it is effective because you can visualize the things, you can learn as well as you can visualize the things. Trainings, even hands-on experience you can get. You are learning many more new things which you have not, maybe not knowing even, or maybe you were not willing to learn because everything was given to you just when you are coming to for the physical learning. So everything you are hands-on experience, practical knowledge you are getting. Now come to disadvantages. There is no control. Any teacher cannot control you here, cannot force you to sit in the front and study. It is up to you. You have to be very sincere for online learning. Lack of practical, like in my every video I am telling you to do practicals. How many of you did? Even I know, and you people also know that you people are doing or not. So that in physical class I can force you to do practical, but in online learning nobody could force you to do it. We can only tell you that you should do it. Lack of interaction, I am talking to you, but if you are not replying, I cannot force you, I cannot make you to interact with me. Lack of authenticity, now see, on the same topic you will get thousands of videos. How authentic information you are getting, that depends upon the person who is creating that particular data over the internet. So you don't know how authentic the data is on the internet. Next is, you are always dependent upon technology. If you don't have computers, you cannot work. If you don't have internet, you cannot learn. Next is health problem. As continuously you are in front of that glared screen, which may harm your eyes, you may feel fatigue, you may be obese because you are sitting and you are doing there is no physical exercise, so you are simply sitting and doing your things. So you may have headaches, you may have strain to your eyes. Many health problems could arise if you are continuously doing e-learning.